There we go. All right. All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Natives in America podcast. This is your host, Benjamin Wan, my co-host, Sky Anto.
Hey, what's up?
We're back. Here we go. All right. It's article time. We're doing articles. I kind of enjoy doing it this way. It just kind of makes a difference. It's like coming to work with a couple of notes.
Reference?
Yeah.
Reference stop?
Yeah. Something we can follow when I start babbling, you know? You kind of look down back at your note cards and you go, and back to this.
Yeah, juxtaposition.
There you go. Well, Sky's got a knack for bringing it back home, and I'll always give you props for that. Like, you keep us on point, or sometimes you drive us completely off the point, but you have a knack for bringing it back. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking kind of about child psychology and Spongebob, but I think it goes deeper. Would you agree? Like, this is the article you brought to us. It's children. All right, I'm going to try to read clearly. I think my mic's messing with me. Children and television. Is Spongebob bad for your child? And then the little sub thing says, can children and television plus parents be good for kids? Okay, that was the other part of it. Okay, here we go. So, Sky brought this to us. You want to give us a little background, Sky?
Okay, so, I was in I got put in a spot where I got handed the remote.
Okay.
There was a lot of age ranges in the living room.
Yeah.
I was like, what's something that can, I don't know. I was like, and me being the old fart, you know, like almost out of touch. I'm like, man, what's popping? What's cool? What's new? So I was rambling. I didn't know what to watch.
You're rambling now. All right, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to
Go ahead. I was messing with you.
NBA TV. That's
okay.
There's always something to watch on that show. But
all right.
Then someone said Spongebob. And I didn't have a problem with Spongebob, but then I just know that there's so many. That's one of the longest running cartoons on Nickelodeon, but it's not even on Nickelodeon anymore. It's on MTV, and
it's gotten big, pretty big.
It's films. So I just was sort of like, I know we even referenced Spongebob, and I think we might have even got it wrong about some of the information. But it's just he's that guy. He's that powerful, I guess. He's been in the game that long. So I looked up this article on Psychology Today, and I was telling Benji before, like, Psychology Today has some good shit in there. Being paid to sell them, but yeah, I think we got a few articles from here for the podcast. So
really,
that's where the chatbot one.
Really,
first one.
That was the first one I would have guessed. I was like, okay, so that came from psychology.
I want to say there's another one, but I read this one. I read articles on this one a lot, so there's good stuff in here. I think even the guitar one. So maybe some of the information on the guitar.
Okay.
Anywho, looked at this article, and a lot of it talks about stuff that we've hinted about and talked about with the new age and the kids and what they're consuming versus what we had in our time.
Old guys.
So cartoons was always like like kids watch cartoons. It's just kind of like I don't know, is that rocket science? They say not rocket science, but it's like...
It's obvious, yeah.
It's a generalization, but it's kind of accurate.
Yeah.
We watch cartoons.
Still do.
So, I don't know, are you wanting to start? Or, so I sent this article to Benji, and here we are.
All right, so I didn't mention the author. This is Marcia Eckert, PhD, and under her name it says People Skills. And I'm going to take us to the end of the article where I saw something a little clearer, maybe. It says, Marcia Eckert, PhD, is a licensed psychologist who specializes in autism spectrum disorders and anxiety. So there you go. It's a short little excerpt. And so I was wondering, she's studying people with autism on the spectrum, and then also people with anxiety. And then she's writing this article about Spongebob. And overall, this article is talking about the effect of television on children. And she kind of follows the lines of a child's ability to behave, to make good decisions, to use their brain to, figure things out. And I guess her theory, or what she's implying here, is that she's saying that SpongeBob and other shows like it with fast pace. She's talking a lot about fast pace, and they use the word stimulating TV. And they say if a child's watching overstimulating TV for long periods, especially right before sleep, and she's implying that this is completely negative. But like we said in the subtitle in the beginning, can children and television plus parents be good for the kids? So she has some ideas that she's throwing out. Now, what was your first impression when you found this? Like, this couldn't have been the only SpongeBob article you found, or was it?
No, there's a whole bunch.
So what stuck out about this one?
Besides that it was on Psychology Today. When I normally go to that website, I think it was just because it did state the fact that maybe SpongeBob is overstimulating. It did say for kids not to watch SpongeBob, but like maybe before going to bed, because like you're trying to wind down and this is just winding you back up. So that kind of drew my attention, but then again, it was also more about like, well, what else have they? It's not just SpongeBob that's doing the overstimulating. There's a lot of other stuff that the kids are watching that that have the same effect. Then it's not just the kids, but then it goes kind of bleeds into the adult in us, where we're consuming social media or the internet or devices, just acted like the whole being drowned in technology, and just kind of maybe not having a negative experience or a negative backlash from what we get from technology, but kind of also sort of like being proactive about it. Maybe using it appropriately versus I just think kids on Dr. Phil that just just overrun their parents and they play games all day, and it's just like,
well, I don't think they were watching SpongeBob. I'll just say that right now.
I don't know, but maybe it started off with SpongeBob,
like he's the gateway cartoon. Okay.
Maybe, because I remember SpongeBob like on VHS. That's how back it goes.
Damn. Yeah.
So, I mean.
So, I like what you're saying.
So that's what kind of got me.
Let's
do this one.
I'm going to read the first paragraph, And then I kind of want to, I'll throw some ideas out here. So there's been a lot of attention. Let me fix my mic. Damn it. Let's do this right. Okay. There's been a lot of attention to a study from the University of Virginia. After 9 minutes of watching SpongeBob, 4-year-old children's ability immediately afterwards to... Oh wait, I missed something. So after 9 minutes of watching SpongeBob, 4-year-old children's ability to immediately afterwards to pay attention, solve problems, and moderate behavior was significantly impaired compared to children who had watched a slower-paced show or who had been drawing. Now, right from the title and the next couple of paragraphs, I got this as like some SpongeBob bashing article, and I was like, screw this article and screw this lady. I don't want to hear it. You know, like, because SpongeBob's pretty lighthearted stuff, but you know, and also I was thinking, you know, of course something fast-paced versus slower-paced is just kind of the energy you give a child. You know, like whatever they're getting, they're talking about stimulating. Yeah, they're saying, oh, their ability to pay attention, solve problems, and moderate behavior. They're saying it was significantly impaired, and I'm just saying, like, well, yeah, that's they're doing it in a study, and they're using SpongeBob, and I feel like they probably spent a lot of money to get this in writing, you know, show it through study, but. I think this one was a no-brainer.
Like knowing that they watched it and got all hyped.
Yeah, and then they don't want to pay attention or solve problems.
Yeah.
You're not going to hand them homework and say, all right, go do your homework. Like that ship has sailed.
Yeah, you started the fire.
Yeah.
Fire, yeah.
Okay, all right, so that brings us to the next part that you were talking about. You said, we do the fire, right? So, it is suggested here, let's see here, I'll make sure I quote this thing.
It's like...
What she means by this. She also pointed out, so they're talking about this author that ran the study, Dr. Angeline Lillard, said SpongeBob shouldn't be singled out. So, okay, so we already knew that. We were talking about that.
Yeah.
But she goes on to say that the studies show that young children are compromised immediately after watching the show. So... it's not a good idea for children to watch stimulating cartoons if they need to exercise self-control and focus immediately afterwards. It's also a bad idea to watch stimulating TV before bed. Now, this is a short article, and my impression of it is, you know, it's not much information where we knew this. You know, like they're putting it into nice words, but it's like you don't leave a kid watching all this crap, you know, right before bed. You know, something getting them hyped, something blowing their mind, someone getting worked up. They're doing studies to show this, and I guess they're just backing up kind of age-old knowledge. Okay, so the part that I really liked was she was using examples from SpongeBob, and she said, I guess what she was saying was like, look, she like you said, I fueled the fire. I started this thing by putting the child in front of the TV. She goes on to kind of suggest, all right, well, the words they use is, are you letting the media, whatever device they're using, are you letting that be the babysitter?
This is what we've always talked about.
Yeah, like spending so much time on there that's their buddy. That's what they go to. Like
the nanny.
Yeah. So in her she kind of starts leaning on that, and she's saying, okay, like, is there a positive way? She's saying, don't cut off all TV. You just got to know how to use it, right? And she starts throwing out these examples, like, all right, well, Let's see here. She says, I use SpongeBob to teach social interactions and big picture thinking. Ask even a young child if Squidward likes SpongeBob, and he knows the answer is no. So I ask, why doesn't SpongeBob get it? Why does he keep trying to play with Squidward? All right?
Yeah.
So, good question. And that one, and one that relates to many kids who keep seeking out the wrong kids at the playground. So, she's actually using these things to make it pertain to real life events.
Yeah.
And she even goes forward and says, all right, well, parents, if you sit down and you're watching what they're watching with them, and then you discuss it afterwards, you know, suddenly TV can be good, is what she's saying. Now, when you read this, Guy, what did it kind of, how did that make you feel?
It was, I mean, it made sense. I mean, I guess it made sense in the sense of somebody raising a child to where I'm monitoring what they're watching, and I'm seeing what they're seeing, so that if we can have a discussion after, which, I mean, not to say that only parents do that with their children, is they give the device and say that's the babysitter, but I think it's humans kind of in a way. I mean, even with like smartphones, we're kind of like babysat by, like, that's our babysitter. Like we're connected to them in this kind of weird way, and so it wasn't. I mean, I saw it first from the parent being like, yeah, hey, like, we can actually have a discussion on this episode of SpongeBob, and let's, you know, deep dive into why, you know, SpongeBob is the way he is, and why he acts the way he acts, or why, I mean, so there's, not so much I didn't think of that, and not so much I don't do that, or ask that, but it's just like, I don't see that a lot. But not to say we're not watching TV, right? But like, it's kind of like, I watch what you watch, you watch what you watch. It's not really like, let's watch something and conversate about it. I mean, that almost happens naturally versus, like, I'm watching what you're watching, and I'm gonna have questions for you after the episode. Like, I don't know. It's like I don't know. It was like, how does someone incorporate that? Like, because right after SpongeBob ends is another episode, you know. So it's like we're gonna stop and have this discussion now. I mean, I get it, but it's just, you know, how are people going to do it, you know, or how can I, you know, take part in it, you know. It was cool, but it just made me start wondering, like, oh shit, man, like, what do we gain from the other cartoons that we watched, and what did we, I guess what else is happening, because I was thinking back, like, when my mom was, like, really strict when we were young, and then really watched what we watched. Like, she hated, like, The Simpsons, because it was, like, she thought it was a bad influence on us, which it might have been, maybe not, I don't know, like, but then now it's like she doesn't. But then I think about, like, when South Park came out, and South Park, like, it's way more harsh than The Simpsons were, but at the time, like, South Park was The Simpsons, you know? So, like, there's just evolution of cartoons, and And, you know, where are we drawing the line? And, you know, it's almost like cartoons just became not exclusively for adults, but, like, you know, where the kids are almost having to, like, decide if they want to watch adult cartoons or cartoons that were, like, maybe intended for their age. I mean, hearing me say that out loud is kind of weird. Like, do we really need to be following the, like, you know, the mature audience only, you know, like, no one's really monitoring that. I mean, maybe there are, but, like kids still find their way of watching what they watch, but it wasn't available as much and as abundantly in our time. So, you know, I think of Beavis and Butthead, of course. Like,
dang, you're just burning everybody down, man.
No, I'm not burning. I love Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah,
I thought that was the best cartoon ever, but I think it was for older kids, adults. I mean, not a 10-year-old, but like at 10, I wanted to watch it because it looked pretty fun. It looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm saying.
I think the article paints it paints kind of like a kind of grim image of television and interactive with media, and it's attempting to tell us a better way to use it. And I don't know, like after reading the whole thing, I was like, hey, I liked a couple parts about that, like what they were getting at, like her using these certain special situations that these kids are experiencing on TV, and then she's like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, why do you think this is happening? But like we said earlier about, you know, kids and cartoons go hand in hand. Like, you always wanted to watch them. I did, you did. Any kid does, you know, and even to this day, like you're mentioning all these kind of adult-themed cartoons, and we're still watching it. I still watch it pretty damn regular. So I kind of feel like maybe this is just the subject she chose. You know, like maybe they're talking more like, I mean, the big words at the top are television and children. You know, children and television. She's using Spongebob as an example, but like really, when I read this, I got a little upset, and it wasn't that she was going after Spongebob, but then it was like, here's another task. You know, this is how you raise your kid. And you know, like you said about, I mean, again, she mentions pace. You mentioned it too. One episode ends and another begins, and she's like, oh well, let's turn off the TV for 10 seconds, children, and discuss what we learned from this very grown-up situations. Like, no kid wants to do that, and I don't blame them. Like, I kind of put cartoons, entertainment value is why you would watch cartoons. And, you know, as children...
But is entertainment educational?
Of course. It can be. That's what she's kind of trying to prove here in this article. But I'm just saying, like, this attack... It feels like an attack. When I read it, it feels like an attack.
It's not mandatory.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying let the kid watch the damn cartoon and don't grill him in the middle of it. You know, like, I would have lost my shit if I waited all week till Saturday and then my parent decided to come and have like an after-school special with me in the middle of my cartoon. You know, like,
like getting a pop quiz on SpongeBob.
Yeah, it's just gonna sit down in front of the TV and you're just like trying to look over the shoulders, like, oh wait, what?
I think he knows during SpongeBob.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna be sitting there, you know, testing you before and after. If you have your problem-solving skills, you get a pop quiz. You know, can you behave for 10 seconds? You're going to run a test through, you know, in the middle of my cartoons?
Yeah.
So, and you know, I think what she may be getting at here is that, you know, we're leading by example maybe. You know, I go sit in front of the TV and watch my crap, you know, and then he wants to do the same thing. He sees me doing it. He's like, oh, well, that's what you do. I'm gonna go watch my show, you know. And what I like being like my boy. I have a boy, and he's 4. You know, he's at that very young age where he's very, you know, he's like a sponge. Everything he sees, like his language changes so fast because he's listening to adult people commentate on like games, you know, and prizes and all this crap that's on there on YouTube, and then they squeeze some dark stuff in there, and he likes that too. Like, it's I find myself drawing the line where I'm like, all right, where is this line? Where do I actually stand on this line? Like, how do I feel about these things he's watching? And I also kind of really, like, a major overall concern that I think is, like, a lot of the crap we give kids, a lot of the crap that we give kids is over what they're doing. Like, hey, don't do that. You know, hey, you're not behaving. Behave yourself. Solve this math problem. Do all this. We're getting after the children. And, I think once we grow up and we start doing our own thing, we still do the stuff. The grown-ups that are giving the kids shit are doing the same thing, but we're trying to teach them, like, hey, don't be like me. You know, don't be like me. But, you know, when they become a child, if they don't grow, you know, take on, like, we talk about becoming adults all the time, me and you, and when do they become the adult? Well, I think part of it is maturity to take control over your life. And you start speaking the way you speak. And sometimes, you know, there's language differences between you and your parents, or maybe, you know, words that your parents don't want you to talk. But part of adulthood is choosing your words, living your life, and, you know, standing by your words. So I'm kind of stuck on the line, like, how can I tell this kid not to do certain things? Like, yes, you want him to behave. Yes, you want him to, you know, make it to school and not be, you know, put aside for being, you know, too much. But at the same time, I want him to have a real world expectation of what's coming his way as he grows older. And, you know, I don't think grilling him in the middle of his cartoons is going to do that for him. So I kind of have a problem with this article. Mm-hmm. I know it's children and television. It's not really even about SpongeBob. I think the use of SpongeBob in this case was kind of like a clickbait for the article, because what she's really doing is, you know, saying this is how you use television, and so in a positive way. Cartoon. Huh?
Could have been any cartoon that you can.
Yeah, well,
fit this article.
Yeah, really anything. She winds up kind of just using the word media instead of so like the internet, or, you know, your iPod or whatever, your iPad, like whatever you're interacting with. They're talking about, you know, this becoming a public health issue. And I don't, you know, this article, maybe I just have a natural sense to get defensive, but when I read this article, I'm kind of not a fan. But I think it's worth talking about. Like I said, there were parts I liked, and I liked how she had used these certain situations in SpongeBob's life to, you know, question children and think, you know, get them to start thinking of the bigger picture. I just think there are larger battlegrounds out there than just media. And, well, maybe I'm underestimating media, because, you know, media is getting huge right now. Like, it's in everything.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what she's getting at is like, hey, let's try and figure out ways to turn it positive.
What was I going to say? Have you watch Rick and Morty?
Yes.
It's so funny because it's like, I don't really know the premise. Uh-huh. I know how they look, them everywhere.
Yeah, no, they are.
But like, hey, kids watch that like throughout the ages, even young adults, but like, I always like, if I can catch a kid and say like, what's that about? What's Rick and Morty about? You know, sometimes they're like, you know, some I say, yeah, they time travel. Others I say they're these guys that do things. You know, it's like, I guess maybe anything to take away from this article is watch TV with your parents every once in a while and naturally have a discussion about what you consumed or why it was funny, or I don't know, but like more togetherness versus separateness. But I don't know. I didn't really read it to like how you tore it.
Yeah.
Tore it apart.
Yeah.
But like,
I printed it out and wiped my ass with it. No,
but, I mean,
sorry, no, I didn't.
I also know that. No, you're a parent.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have this dilemma where I'm like, oh man, a kid's watching something they shouldn't be watching, or I don't know.
But
I have no one to worry about. But like,
you were also the other side of that coin. Like, you were the child that got raised. Like, you have your experience, and you are who you are now.
Mm-hmm.
How bad do you think a role did television play in your upbringing?
I don't know. I don't think. Like, I remember they like say TV eyes. Like you're just glued to the TV. Like you can't look away. But I don't think it was like all harmful.
Yeah.
No, I mean. Well, now, I don't know, like, the human experience, is it watered down by television, you know, or is life still exciting if we can't do the stuff we do on the internet?
I think I do a lot less exciting stuff by being glued to a television. I'll put it that way. There's some exciting stuff I could be doing, but instead I'm sitting on the couch watching a movie that's not real. You know, it's not real. But I enjoy that. Like, I really enjoy watching movies. And I guess the big question here is, like, how many afternoon specials did you have to go through to wind up still coming out good or all right? Let's just say all right. We came out all right. And how many after-school specials did we have to go through with television? You know, how many pop quizzes did you get? And did you come out all screwed up or not? Like, I think that's kind of what she's getting at. Like, they're saying, oh, it's a health concern. It's like, yeah. I think our ability to pull up damn near anything and have our children or us see damn near anything at a very young age can be detrimental. All right, it can be bad, but if I say I'm watching a show while my kid's asleep, like something with vampires and there's people eating people, and he knows nothing about that. Then he walks out in the middle of the night, and he walks up on the scene and there's people biting on each other and there's blood and guts. I would block his face. Alright, so I'd run and try to turn it off, or, hopefully not pause it right in the middle of that, but I've done it. I've tried to like hey, this is a more adult show, and I don't want you to watch it. I've done that. So
close your eyes.
And I've had people do that to me, and at the same time, like I remember going to my my Auntie Joyce's house and watching scary movies, like, and just looking forward to that, and it was like fun. It was fun with the family and scary, you know, like, and it was like the one I really remember is like Creepshow 2, and it's that old school like high schoolers, and his neighbor moves in, and it's Fright Night. I remember watching that, and at the time that was some gruesome stuff. All right, but now I kind of like a little bit of horror every now and then when I watch shows. Like I just rewatched The Shining the other night, and it's like I enjoy it, and I don't see it as detrimental to me or my development, you know. Or maybe that's what's wrong with me. I don't, you know, like.
It's like, how do you calculate how bad television was or is? Like, how do you?
Well, that's what these people are trying to quantify here in this article. They're trying to figure that out and put it on paper, and I don't think that's possible. And at the same time, I'm. Geez, you know, it's weird. Like, I want to say right now I'd rather worry about what his friends are showing him. But, like, the kind of world we're living in is really weird right now. It's not really like how we were raised. It's not really how our parents were raised. At this point in time, it's all over the computer. I often wonder when I think about looking forward into the future, I worry that we're going to become even more disconnected. And at some point, like I've said when we were talking about COVID, if this becomes the new normal, our normal might disappear forever. Like going outside without a mask on, you know, or, you know, going outside without being fearful of losing your life over something you can't really control, or, you know, things you touch, like, where people are terrified. You know, and damn it, I had a freaking point, but what I'm getting at is that if we make this a norm, like if this thing sticks around and say friends are people who are like emojis or what do they call them, avatars on the computer screen, and we're losing that whole human connection, we're getting pulled further and further apart, like I worry about that sometimes, like when I was about to say, like, hey, I worry about his friends, the people he'll interact with. And this media that they were talking about, the internet, computers, you know, our phones, laptops, every little device they have, it's
well,
we're jacked in.
Yeah. But I was going to say, like, it says the authors says people skills, like, you know, this is kind of like, this was a way to, like, using Spongebob or cartoons, and you watch it with your parents, you use it as a way to, you know, have them gain people skills. But, like, how do you, what is the way you teach people skills? I mean,
well,
like, if you school, because I think that's where they get people skills too, where they get to exercise, you know, kind of what you tell them on how to act, and then they use it and test it out. But, like, kids aren't going to school, where are they getting their people skills? Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at. Like, if you mess up, the machine will chew you up and spit you out. You know, like, there's a correction amongst the children that, you know, when somebody's messing up, it's pointed out. And then you learn, you self-correct. I think television can't show you that. Well, they can do after-school specials, you know. But yeah, I don't.
What? When you say school specials, like, what do you think you know?
The first thing that popped in my head was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where they're having real life conversations and concerns about what's going on in the world.
Like, it gets real.
Yeah, they get real, and they have to have a long discussion about what they learned.
Mm.
Yeah.
Huh.
They talk about tobacco and drinking alcohol.
I guess it's, I think, like, when it's lighthearted, or I think maybe that's where the line gets blurred. It's where, I mean, it can't always be, like what we said, like, it's not always a crack up, you know?
Yeah.
Time to goof out. Like, sometimes shit hits the fan and it gets real, you know, real life problems in the world, but maybe putting so much responsibility on television, like, I don't know. Do we really know what we're buying into by turning on the TV? Or?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm just...
So, I would, like when I set this podcast up on YouTube, I mark it not for kids.
Mm-hmm. But
if it were my son, I'd let him listen to it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I want him to be able to learn and think for himself and know who his father is. Like, this is how he thinks, how he talks, what he thinks about, and I would be fine if my child thought and talked like me. Now, when he goes to school, are his parents going to be happy with him talking like a sailor? Probably not. They'll get in trouble and they'll disrupt his education to chastise him for talking like an adult would. But that's what I was getting at earlier is, you know, once we become adults, it's all fair game. And then what have we lost by getting kicked out of school for that stuff or being penalized? Missing out on school, basically, and, you know, that's the dilemma I wrestle with all the time is where I really don't like censorship. You know, trying to listen to the music the way the author made it. The person who created it made it, and then they edit it out. They either block it out or they put something stupid in there, and then suddenly it's marred. I feel like we've ruined some piece of art, you know? Like writing, you know, blackening teeth on someone's wonderful painting, you know? So, you know, I struggle with this idea. Does, you know, how much of him being him, like an adult, you know, I kind of wonder how early do I want my son to grow up and be aware of himself and to handle himself. When do we cross that line? I guess this is really the old discussion we keep talking about.
Yeah. Man, I mean,
we've come.
I think one nugget to take away from this whole discussion is the fact that a parent involved in their kid's life has influence on the child versus maybe a kid that don't get that attention, or you know, maybe they're just watching crap all the time. Well, I don't know. Like, it's like, as a parent, involved parent, you kind of say, nah. Like, even now, looking back, like, even though my mom was tough, like, you know, it wasn't like she had intention, she had a reason to why, you know, we couldn't watch that at that time, but then, like, later. I guess I get freaked out of how time works because it's like, but a few years later it was all good because, maybe we matured or we got a little older. So I guess, she kind of said that gradual point where, you're not ready to watch Friday. But, it's also like that too, like, at least your kid is, we ain't doing that right now. Like, you're doing this. Like, I don't know, even though we like all want to be free and making our own decisions, having that guidance there's reason behind it, and to be that parent with that reason is like, that's a strong bond. Even if there are times when it gets rough or pads bump, at least. So, but like, I don't know. Like, when did it become where we're not watching cartoons, we're watching movies, or we don't want to watch cartoons anymore.
So I'm thinking about when waiting for the Saturday cartoons was no longer something I wanted to do. I want to say early teens, 10, 11, 12. I'd still watch them, but I think I would have rather been outside playing with my friends, in person, seeing, interacting, not without a TV between us.
Yeah.
There was plenty of times where we had like fantastic times, like having like fighting tournaments on Street Fighter. We'd have the TV hooked up and we'd all be around it having a great time. But like running around was more important. It was more fun. So.
I guess the TV. I guess our relationship to the TV is it. I don't know. I mean, it has qualities of a companion at times, like the way we talk about it. Like the amount of time we spend if we have that time.
You ever use the expression, I wish I knew what I wish I knew what I know now then?
I've never used it, but
really?
I was talking about it the other day, but not in those. I hadn't used that phrase.
Well, it's kind of why it's why I think the way I think about what I want my boy to learn.
Oh, okay.
It's like, okay, when do I want him to be prepared? Like, how soon is too soon? But and I don't like censorship, but I wonder if, I'm kind of being hypocritical by throwing a hand up and saying, don't look at this, But I think more importantly, I was thinking about what having to explain that. Like, oh, this is why this lady and this dude are chewing out this guy's neck and he's bleeding all over the place and probably dying. And why your dad is watching it,
Yeah.
So I guess I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite here, and I'll jump up like, whoa, like turn it off. Or there's been plenty of times where he'd be on YouTube and he'd be, he'll just be popping video to video. He'll watch a couple seconds, jump to the next one, which, we brought up in the article about like speedy, stimulating. Like there's a lot of noise. Like I can always hear it. There's a lot of noise. The characters who are talking, they're talking loud and screaming, and the video content, there's music and like noise and all this stuff, and he's popping around back and forth, and every now and then I'll hear him following somebody or watching a little bit longer on something where they're talking about, more adult situations, stuff that, well, I've come at him and go, what are you watching? A few times where it was like it went to a point where apparently I had a line and said, no, I don't want you watching that, change it. Because it was like, I think one of them was like really sexual and the other one was, I think it was like a game, which I think everybody plays right now, but it was like taking lifelike bodies with this control gun and like smashing them into a meat grinder. And like it was all this blood, and even for me, like I'm damn near desensitized to everything. And I was like, holy shit, like, whoa, like, all right, don't watch this. I had to turn to him and go, all right, I don't think you should be watching this. Like, stop. And I don't know if it was like, I think it was more like, all right, I don't think you're prepared for this.
Yeah, I remember one time when it was on national television where this guy in the NCAA, it was like March Madness time, and this guy stepped wrong and his bone just popped out of his leg. Like, I mean, that's something I'll be like, hey, don't close your eye, don't watch that. But then, I guess it's kind of like TV is showing us not reality, but a stimulation of something. Because, like, how does a kid know that that's not real versus that's not real that I'm buying into it? You know what I mean?
So
I don't know, but I'm just saying. Again, our relationship to like TV, and then like what it sets up and how we kind of. I don't want to say we learn from it or gain from it, but we have to make some type of understanding in our head, and that's what we're going with.
So I just spent the past, 45 minutes, half an hour bashing this article.
I know.
but my answer to your question would have been, as a parent, you step in and do the afternoon school special. I was like, well, you got to be a parent and explain that. Damn it. Being a parent is hypocritical. I'll just do that. Like, damn, it puts you in hypocritical situations. I want them to see everything, but don't look at this real quick. Like, when you're older,
yeah,
damn. Like I guess there are lines when I was like, don't watch this, or all right, turn that off. Like, I had lines I didn't know I had, and I think what it was really coming down to, like, like I said, I don't think you're ready for this. But the thing about YouTube, which I think they might have been hinting at here when they kept mentioning media, is on YouTube it's so random. They throw in so much crap that every now and then ultra heavy, violent things come on in the middle of it. Sometimes you catch it, sometimes you don't, but they're still being exposed to it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
something.
So
commercials. Something.
I tore this article up. I even said I would have wiped my ass, printed it out and wiped my ass with it, but which I didn't do. I hope that this author doesn't ever hear this episode. I'm looking at her picture right now. So yes, I bashed this article. In the end, I wound up backing it up at the same time, lining up with it. But I'll say that it was a little too simple. Like yes, it's only like a one-page so many paragraph articles. So yeah, I mean, they had to keep it simple. I'm sure there's an article that she's written on this, and this is just her 10-minute tidbit, you know?
Yeah, I mean, maybe more details about the study with the kids watching it, and what else were they watching? What was the other slow-paced?
Well, they mentioned reading and drawing.
Oh yeah.
And that's where I was just like, well, of course, it's a different part of the brain. You're drawing or reading. You're drawing on a different part. So of course you can streamline from that to problem solving and paying attention and moderating behavior.
Oh.
So, like I was saying in the beginning, this is all common knowledge, I guess, and I'm curious what more is going on in this study, because what I'm seeing here doesn't really get into it. They just hint at it, and my overall experience from it was negative. I didn't like it because it was like they're putting a lot on television.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, they're like, well, be a parent, make this a positive television experience. Well, like you mentioned, the broken bone sticking out of the leg.
Yeah.
Me being attached to medicine, I would have been like, son, take a look at that. Like, that's bad. That's bad. And you'd have to fix that. Like, that's kind of how I would have been. That was my after-school special. This bad. This bad, son. You don't want this. Like, you don't want a bone sticking out of your leg. And if you ever see that, call me. Like, we got to take care of it. Like, so I've been talking shit this whole time. I'm sorry, Marcia, if you ever find this. I agree, but with a little bit of disdain, you know. You feel me? Do you feel me? Do you agree? Do you disagree?
We're having the discussion.
Where are you at?
That's your voicing your opinion, but
yeah.
You also put your foot in your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
But learn. But like, I mean, I think that's the cool thing about your scientific brain is, you might start here, but
yeah.
If something comes up where you're like, oh shit, I had it wrong, and then you admit it, and you go on with the knowledge from there.
Yeah.
So
well, that's me. Science is the shit. I'll never deny that. That's me in a I don't know what the expression is. That's me in a
nutshell.
That's me in a nutshell. I was thinking eggshell, and I was like, why doesn't that sound right? That's me in a nutshell. All day long, just arguing with myself, like testing theories in my head, and then going, that doesn't make sense, but this makes more sense. So maybe that's why I enjoy you bringing articles. Why I liked looking into that chatbot episode. It's informative. I don't even know if I follow psychology today. People, if you do or don't, it's pretty interesting. I read this article, and I tell you how I feel. I said a lot of this was just common knowledge, and I agree with part of it in certain situations. I didn't know I did until I did. And I really liked the comparative that they brought on for Spongebob. But, I still, as a parent, I'm like, screw you, I'll raise my kid my way kind of attitude. Yeah. Which I think is why I got an attitude with this in the first place. And I'm sure people are out there going, why would you have an attitude with an article? And I'm like, well, that's me. So it's like...
Well, like I said, I think maybe we're biased because we love TV.
Yeah, there you go.
We grew up in the TV was the shit time. I mean, like, I don't know, like, maybe somebody that don't have a TV in their house because they don't want to watch it, like, and they might see it differently, but, like, I watch TV, like I said, my whole life, and I feel like I turned out okay. So, I don't see the big problem, but maybe that's the problem. Because I'm not acknowledging, like, all the harmful shit that maybe we watch, or maybe that sneaks in during the commercial, you know, like, because that shit is, I remember one time, you know, like, during the, like, a long video will have cuts, and it goes to a commercial. Mm-hmm. And, like, some commercials, they're interactive, or, like, there's a link. Uh-huh. You can press to go to that one. And, I don't know, maybe accidentally press it, you know, or, I don't know, but I just remember one time, like, you know, some TVs have, like, cameras, and, it almost felt like one of the, because it was on someone's Snapchat, and they were saying, man, like, I left the YouTube video playing on, and when the commercial was on, like, it just lasted, like it was somebody watching live. But, like, I don't know, it just happened to be the setting of the commercial where maybe they're doing it live, but it was almost
What do you mean?
Like, in the moment, like, this is a live recording, and it's a commercial, but, like, that lady was almost saying, like, it felt like they were watching...
Her?
Yeah, or they were watching her room.
Yeah.
And... So I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just saying... We might be watching one thing, but something else comes in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, okay. All right, I'll take that point. We might be watching one thing, but what?
But what?
No, I'm saying that the sentence you just said, it was like, we might be watching one thing, but maybe it's something else, right?
Yeah, like a commercial.
So what I'm thinking here is television is almost an outdated concept. You know what I mean? Like we still gather around a TV, like a TV, but it's really, comparatively to the technology around us, our phones are the same thing, but in our hands. So, I mean, we never had that as children. I feel like the children are, you know, light years ahead of us, and that we're kind of playing catch-up on what to do about it, you know? And this lady's talking children and television, and she's using... I don't want to say an outdated because he's still very relevant, Spongebob. They're using him as an example, and I feel like YouTube's not television, and it's a little more detrimental without supervision, I guess, and what she's getting at here is like, all right, interact with them, with the television, what they're watching. And I think what's so concerning is, like, what they have at even a younger age. Like, I think my son started opening my phone at, like, 2.5 and just running his own shit. Like, I didn't have to, like, stand there and pick shows for him. He just started doing it. Mm-hmm. And, so, like, what they have so much faster is they got the TV off the wall and total control over it. Where we, as children, we... had to watch whatever the hell was on, you know, whoever had the remote. But my son can now take this handheld TV and go to his room. You know, go to my room, whatever, and he's watching whatever the hell he wants on YouTube. He knows how to find it, he knows how to unlock it, he knows how to watch it. And like I said, I've caught glimpses. I'm sure there's plenty more that I didn't catch. But I'm saying, you know, she's talking television, and maybe, you know, YouTube is still considered that. You know, she mentioned media. That's more that, you know, what we're interacting with. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of wonder, like if this is them now. Like this is the new concept. They're creating something that's never been done before. And I think trying to apply some old-timey principles on a subject that's kind of, I want to say, beyond us. Because I definitely wasn't controlling a smartphone, a smart computer at the age 2.5. And I can only imagine what they'll be handling when they're my age now, 35, and it's like,
yeah. I mean, even the drones, like, hey man, we had that shitty ass remote control car. I mean,
yeah,
they were still pretty cool, but like, I don't pick a drone over a remote control car.
Well, yeah. I want a drone. I'm a grown-ass man. I want a drone.
I want one, too.
I want a drone, all right? And I want to fly around and look at shit. Make badass videos.
You do some cool videos?
Yeah.
Like some cool videos with them? Nah, I mean...
I remember as a kid, we got sent like a... It was crazy. Like, it's completely outdated now, but it was like a VHS in the mail, and it was an advertisement for a toy company. And I used to watch it like it was a fucking movie, just getting excited about all these new toys. And that was my thing. I watched it more than once, and all it was a mail home VHS advertisement. Like, check out this new toy, and they brought out, hovercrafts that went on sand and water, and I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, I didn't own a freaking hovercraft, but I owned a damn advertisement VHS. Like, that's the age I come from. I feel very old even admitting that.
I was hardcore into the Thundercats.
God.
I only seen one episode, but I watched that shit every fucking day, so I don't know, I mean, that was the best show I had. It was a cool episode, and that wasn't until way later where I think it was like it popped up on cable when I was a young adult, and it's just sort of like, man, there's how much of this shit did I miss?
Yeah. That's how I thought about the X-Men.
It wasn't like we felt it was scarce, like, oh man, I had this one episode of this cool show. It was just sort of like, hey, let's watch that. It's cool. But you're talking about your boy with the smartphone, just access to
the internet,
a lot of stuff. I mean,
Yeah, well, alright, so here's another thing. And if his mom ever listens to this, which I doubt she does, she'll probably pick a bone with me. She bought him, the kids, his brother and sister, at the time, she had bought them kids, quote unquote, she bought them kids tablets. So they came pre-installed with this like control.
Wow.
Like it was made for kids. They could only watch kid shows. It was the kid version. And in my mind, I was like, you just wasted your money, because at some point, you can make a normal tablet, and by normal I mean something I would use, into child safe, and then turn it back when they're no longer children. But by putting money into that, these child tablets, they become outdated almost immediately. And like when my kid has a choice between trying to get his hands on my phone versus his kid's game, he'll choose the phone every time, because he wants to watch his real stuff. All this fluffy, tigers holding hands and running, skipping through the forest happy stuff, he wasn't into it.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what do you call it? What we were saying earlier. Like we want to watch the cool stuff. We want to watch the kiddie stuff.
Yeah.
And then your boy's so young. He figured that out a long time ago.
Yeah.
So
and it's freaky.
How do we measure that, or do we
exactly
measure it, or do we not measure it?
That's kind of more of why I was upset with this article. It just seems kind of outdated, like a little late to the party.
Yeah.
I mean, it is 2011. It says it was posted September 17th, 2011. But still, that seems modern enough to me. You know, it's like, I don't know where we draw lines on modern. But what I'm saying is like, I think television had been around long enough in that year for this to already be outdated. Now, my son was only born 4 years ago, but like, he's light years ahead of me at that age, and it's the age they live in. It's like there are times when my mom will have a talk with me. She still has talks with me, and and it's usually, in my mind, comes down to a difference in our generation. She does not understand the concepts that I believe in. The way I grew up in the age that I grew up in. So she's like, I don't like that language or this, and I'm like, that's okay. I'm still gonna talk this way, or it's still gonna happen. So that's kind of the worry that I keep in the back of my mind about my boy. He was already running it at 2.5. Then he knew how to unlock the phone shortly after. Then he knew how to do whatever he wanted. I think he even took the child locks off the child tablet. You know, like, or there was little restrictions that she was maintaining on an actual tablet after we got rid of the kiddie ones. So it's like these kids are light years ahead of us, and we need to come with a new game plan, and we're kind of learning as we go here. This is it's never been done before, and I think we touch on this in a lot of our episodes. So when I think about it, like, change is happening, you know?
Yeah. So,
you know, faster and faster.
Yeah.
It just keeps happening. So, again, as any parent, even people that are raised by parents, which should include everybody, you know, nobody really likes being told, all right, this is the way to do it. She's putting out this pretty suggestively that she's basing it off of studies. She even used, you know, pertinent. Like I said, I think SpongeBob's a little outdated now, but he's still in there. Kids are still, he's in there. He's still rocking hard.
Still in the mix.
Still in the mix. There you go. You just dated yourself there, buddy. And so I think I've made my point already. Is you know, we're learning where this is going. Obviously, I have lines that I don't cross, that I didn't know I had before him. You know, I think parenthood kind of forces you to be hypocritical sometimes and go, oh, don't watch this, even though I watch it myself.
Oh, yeah.
And like we bring up all the time on this podcast, when do you draw the line of adulthood? When do you cross over from kid to adulthood? And let's put this question out: Does the type of TV we're watching, or the content that we're watching, does that age us? Does that mature us faster than you know, a fluffy cartoon? Very age appropriate stuff.
Maybe.
Because like I was already presenting, I want my kid to be mature. Like, I'm not saying I want to rob him of his childhood, because I think this is very important, you know, running around playing and watching cartoons, just like we did, you know. I think it's very important. And like I said, I wouldn't want my parents sitting in and trying to quiz me on the show right after I watched it.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the outdated part. And then, so, you know, it's like...
Yeah. Maybe this is just one approach to parent, but there's a lot of methods.
Yeah. More than one way to skin a cat.
But yeah, my mind is racing, because it's like, you know, just the shows that we're into, and, you know, the shows that we used to watch when we were younger, you know, like, when it became maybe not so much cartoons, but teenage settings, and then sitcoms, or, you know, I don't think maybe like documentaries. I think like the Netflix, like how they have some documentaries that almost seem like shows, where, you know, we didn't have a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
But like,
it's a unknown quantity, man. We don't know, and I think we mentioned the singularity and about the exponential growth. I think technology and children are getting closer and closer as one. Like, we as a people, and I mean like the generation we're raising. You have kids you're teaching. You know, you do have kids, Sky. You got kids that you're teaching. They're learning from you, and they're you know, the ones they're older than my kid, but they're still light years ahead of us, and my kid will be even more, you know, farther ahead than that, and his kids, like. I don't think we can separate the technology from who we are anymore. Like, it's part of the identity, and I don't see it going away. And maybe that's kind of what she was getting at. It's like, hey, we got to experiment with ways to make positive experiences with television, because it's in the mix now, as you put it, and it's teaching our kids. And maybe not just television, maybe not just Spongebob, but, you know, we're kind of fighting a losing battle, I think, at this point, because we don't know how much. We have an idea. I think that's what all their studies did, was kind of just paint a small picture of the effect. You know, they have small causes and effects.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, you know, down the road, what even just my own kid's kid would be learning at, you know, maybe an even earlier age. They might even have chips in them when they're born, you know, that they don't need to buy a freaking tablet because it'll be in their head. You know, that's on the books. People are working on that now.
Whoa.
Maybe not injecting it in babies, but they're working on chips. Technology integration into our bodies. Turning our brains into our cellular phones. So, you know.
Is that our obsession with technology, or is that like beneficial to humanity?
Great question. Great question. You're the idea man with questions. I like it.
Well,
I think anything I say would probably be hypocritical. It's
such a dad.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I was gonna say.
What do you think?
Well, when you're talking about like not wanting to be interrupted by your parents when you're watching your cartoons, like maybe you don't want it, but it might have been helpful.
Maybe.
I don't know. But you know what's a good shit is Daria.
Yeah,
the cartoon. There's personalities. There's good music. There's dialogue. There's it's just. I wish there was more shows like Daria. Maybe.
They try.
Yeah.
I think there's a ton of adult shows out there that are under the guise of child shows because they're cartoons. But adult stuff, maturity, what are the kids ready for?
I mean, again, like we were saying, I keep the people skills. Like we get people skills from the shit we watch. We talked about that, like the Flintstones. Remember, I guess
I'm trying to think of the episode.
It was Brainwashed. We're talking about the husband and wife. And,
yeah.
And kind of had the husband kind of being a dumb guy.
Yeah.
His wife was smarter, but yet she wasn't the breadwinner. It was the husband. And he was dumb.
That alone paints a picture of our generation. And actually, what's funny is that was written by the generations before us. Our parents were writing those to teach us, And that was the picture they were painting, was the man and the wife and the kids and the dog. Think about what they're seeing now. The man and the man, the mom and the mom, the others.
One of my players, we went to eat out, and they were watching Hulu on their phone, and they were watching the show Modern Family.
Oh yeah.
And I've never watched the show, but I actually,
I like that show.
I've been watching it the past few weeks, and I really like it.
It's good.
But it's like that, like what you're kind of saying now, where it's like almost rebranding for the new generation, but we'll call it modern.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know, that's pretty crazy, but
yeah, they definitely painted a new picture. They
for sure.
They were produced during this time of change. What our kids are seeing.
Yeah.
And I mean, a big part of it is, I would say, progress. Like we even covered that in our previous episode about going too far. Like I think I called it the trouble with honesty. It was like, we took it a little too far with best intentions. That show is, and I'm not saying they went too far. I'm saying that show is a picture of the times that our kids are growing up in, that we're growing up in. Like we're being familiarized with what's acceptable and what's not, and it's progressive.
Yeah,
I like that show. I'll back them up on that. I really like that show. But again, like, it's changing. Everything's advancing forward, and sometimes it'll go a little too far, and sometimes it doesn't. And who's to say? Like I think that was my issue with this article, was who's to say? I think I might have just been arguing for the sake of arguing. I kind of enjoy arguing.
I think that's what it was, because she said not to just throw SpongeBob under the bus, but what else are we not talking about and watching? I don't know. I mean, I guess it's good food for thought in the sense of, what are you obtaining from the stuff you're watching?
Yeah.
I don't know, bro. My mom said this a lot. Like,
what?
And I think it was just sort of just to not get me to watch it, or she would just say like, "Oh, this is gonna make you dumb." Like, she would be like, "Oh, you're just getting dumb just watching it." But I knew it was because she didn't want me watching it. But it was good tactics, because I would like really be like, why am I watching this? Like, what is this? But I think it was just like, maybe music she didn't want me to listen to, or and then when it's like, I think like even like Family Guy, like I don't think she really cares for Family Guy. But she'll have episodes she'll like, but like the overall show, like, nah, don't put it on. I ain't trying to watch that, but like I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's
still watching cartoons,
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It's I guess the relationship with parents is, you're always going to be.
I think it'll always be important.
No, but you'll always be the measuring what is being consumed. Yeah. And maybe, like what you're saying, you just wanted to argue for the sake of arguing. It was more of, like, what he's consuming is, I have it under control. So there's more other issues that are pressing besides their TV consumption. But maybe it was more in the sense of like, oh, this is a good. This, maybe not every episode, but this one episode, there's some talking points where, hey, pause it. Let's have the after school special right now. But when you were saying after school special, the first thing that came to my mind is Scared Straight.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that was in cartoonish, but like
that's.
Was that beneficial?
That's like a live TV version of an after school special. That's like, they're trying to scare them straight with this like attack and fear tactic. Like that's. I always think, when I think after school special, I think of all the family shows that were popular back in the day.
Full House. Like
Full House, Family Matters, like it's all funny. Everybody's so funny. They all say all these funny lines, and then they start having, and Family Matters, and was it the Tim the Toolman Taylor? Home Improvement. Yeah, so they're all funny. They're joking around, and then they have these and Roseanne. I loved Roseanne. I still watch Roseanne, and they'd be all joking the whole time. Then they have a real life issue, and they start having this after school special, which is it's kind of like an expression, really, where they're talking about that scenario, where it's like, we're the parents, and we're going to sit you down now. We're going to teach you a lesson about what just happened to you.
Yeah, it got real, but it was like, I don't know.
It's necessary, and I'm always trying to judge when it's ready, when it's time. Yeah. And it's really just paying attention to what the hell he's watching. And, just standing, like right now, it's kind of like standing by to answer questions when he's ready. So sometimes you see some shit that doesn't register, doesn't make sense. You kind of you shut down, your brain shuts down, and goes, "What did I just see? Like, wait a minute, what is this?" Like him waking up in the middle of the night and coming out, and I'm watching some kind of crazy bloody vampire thing. It's like, wait, what? Why are they killing that man with their mouths? Why is there so much going on? Like, and your brain kind of stops. Like that's. I think overall, stepping in and teaching is what this article was about. Maybe just a suggestion to be aware of where we're headed. You know, it was 2011. You know, be prepared, and here's some tools for the trade as a parent to attack this issue that's coming up. So now I'm going against what I said earlier, even further, and saying this is an okay article. Marcia Eckert, PhD with people skills. So I'm trying to give out some jewels here.
Family jewels.
Yeah, there's another one. So again, I think what it comes down to is stepping in and being ready to explain when you need it, and sometimes when you don't think you need it. Mm-hmm. There's probably a lot of that in our teenage years, you know, where it was like we dove in head first, fucked up bad, and then had to step back and learn from that or not learn from it. And hopefully someone was there, parent or not, to show you a better way. Or, you know, just guide you when you needed it.
Yeah.
And I feel, again, like a hypocrite when I tried to block his eyes. Maybe that should have been when he saw it was when it was time to show him. Because I guess my whole real inner conflict is like, what did my parents lie to me about? And I think that's kind of the ongoing, no matter what generation you're from, you find out your parents lied to you about a whole lot, whether it was positive, negative, or, you know, didn't really matter. Like a white lie. You know, that's probably that's becoming a parent kind of makes me come to terms with that. How much lying am I willing to go through with my kid versus what my parents did with me? How much lying do they lie to? How many times were they lying to me, and how did that affect me when I found out it was a lie? Like how there's some trust loss there when you grow up and start learning about these things. And I'm just saying, like, that's the struggle. I don't know. I'm learning as I go, and what I'm finding more and more is that the children of today wind up being, if not experience-wise, technology-wise, they're way more advanced. Mm-hmm. And since our generation was kind of the bridge between no technology, or let's say low technology, and high technology, we can kind of compete. We got the smartphones. We know how to use them. We probably taught these kids how to use them. But in the end, they're going to be way, way more advanced than we are. And I think that kind of takes a bit of stepping aside and then stepping back in when it's appropriate.
Well, I think it's also kind of acknowledging, like, someday your update is going to surpass where mine can go.
Yeah. And then I'll be asking them to fix my phone.
Yeah.
You know, what my parents are doing to me now.
But, I don't know. I guess.
It's a conflict. It's a conflict of interest. I have to prevent my son from cussing, so I don't have to keep showing up every day when he goes to school. But at some point, I want him to speak his mind. And knowing how I express myself, he's probably going to be cussing.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a line where I'm going to stop giving him shit for it. And maybe that's when he's an adult. I don't know. When he decides for himself what he can and can't handle. And until then, I'll just be here busting his balls until he gets it right. As if I know the right way.
Yeah. Well, maybe, I guess, the appropriate use of cuss words versus knowing that it's a bad word and I can say it because I have a voice. Like, I think, not to say that's how I see it. But it's kind of, if you can cuss around your parents in a appropriate way to where they don't want to get mad at you or say you're doing the wrong thing, then I don't know. I mean, I think that's kind of cool, though. I mean,
yeah, there's a time and a place for it, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I struggle with that concept of cussing, but like, I cuss too. I cuss.
Yeah,
so
definitely. We got a cussing episode that I want to go back and listen to.
We gotta revamp that. I mean, we gotta.
We need to re-listen to it and then do a part 2.
That cold case, because things have happened, and then we've learned some things. We read an article. We read a couple articles.
Now we know better, right?
We know some stuff.
I read a couple articles, and now I know better.
Yeah. So
they've reshaped my thinking. Yeah.
My philosophy on parenting and
typical our generation, right? Like, I read an article, so now I'm informed.
Now I'm an expert.
The internet told me this, and now it's gospel. This is the truth. Let me tell you about it.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, you know, what's weird is like I had this realization, which I should have had a long time ago, but I'm like, the internet lies too. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was almost like, you know, you go there, you're going to the internet, you're getting something real, but it's not real sometimes. Sometimes it's fabricated, or the person posting it doesn't know what they're saying. So, and even us, we're bullshitting, you know, like, it's just, I don't know, like, where we're drawing the line as far as, like, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, because we always struggle with that, like, being kids, being adults, you know, responsibilities of, is it humanity? Is it just, you know, we're just trying to survive, we're trying to keep our legacy going, but it's like, TV is, or entertainment, whatever we call it, like, we're always going to be consuming something, right? And I guess maybe it's like, what do we want for the future? Maybe what do we got to be watching to get there? But, you know, what's weird is, there's a show called Shameless. I don't know if you watched it. Have you ever seen it? But, they had their last season, and COVID was written into the script. I mean, they had masks, they were wearing masks in the like, it almost felt like realistic in the sense of, like, what's happening in our time is happening in the sitcom's time. Yeah.
It's current.
Yeah, so, but I thought that was so, it was kind of like in the weird way, I was like, damn, this shit is really happening to where, damn, I don't know where I'm going with that, but it just felt like media, even though we don't always say it's harmful, but we do point out that it can be harmful.
Yeah, just the last episode.
For real. So, I mean, it can't all be harmful. Or can it? I don't know. I don't know, bro.
I think we're giving too much power to the media and the devices we use.
Because we know it has that power.
Well, we give it the power. You know, we give it the power. We turn it on. We sit down and watch it. We use it every day, damn near. And the kids after us will use it every day, and like shit. Finding a balance for all of that is tough. I guess what I'm getting is like, it still comes down to the parent. I think the parent will never be the outdated concept. And I think you said that earlier in so many words, saying, you know, it's up to us, not the TV, to do the real final teaching. There's a lot I will allow. You know, there's a lot, and like I said, it's because I struggle with what's okay and what's not okay. And maybe it comes down to how much I can explain, you know. But like, you know, I'm still, like I said, being a parent, I'm a hypocrite because I hate censorship, but at some point I still jumped up and censored his eyes, you know, censored the picture by blocking him from looking at it. So at a certain age, I guess it's appropriate, but the example I was thinking of was like going, and I bought the Eternal 1999 Bone Thugs and Harmony album. I got it at Walmart.
Oh, shit.
And at the time, and I think they still do, I think they censored the fuck out of it, and I wound up throwing it away. I didn't like it. That's how, you know, it's like I paid full money, I want the whole damn album. I don't want this garbage that you guys are, you know, peddling. So that's when it went wrong. That's where it went too far. Why would I pay for an edited thing? So, again, like I said, it's a struggle trying to figure out these fine lines, trying to show him the right thing, while at the same time trying not to stop him from maturing.
Yeah.
I think me and my mom were... go ahead.
No, well, I mean, remember we were talking about that in today's episode about the horror films where a director will release his version because the studio didn't make changes, and it was almost like sometimes we watched an edited version of what was really intended.
Yeah. And you can wind up missing the finer points.
Yeah. But then I think that's one thing I was reading about was you know, like shows when they first get onto a network, they're on local TV or the main channels, but then like it becomes outdated or maybe it's no longer running, so it gets sold to another show or a smaller network or something. They have control of how that show is chopped and cut, and they might take out parts. Yeah, and, I see it all the time. And even like, I mean, I love Netflix and Hulu, but even like shit like that where people were, I mean, I think we mentioned that before too with the Seinfeld. Like, Seinfeld got on Netflix recently, and right away people were saying like, this shit's different. Like, it's not the same. It's kind of, they tweaked it.
Really?
And I don't know. I don't know if it's just the filter or the lighting, but like there is a little difference.
Okay. Visually, yeah.
And there is some sound, not sound, but just like how I perceive the show on other networks versus like right now. It's a little different, but it wasn't as much as when I read the article where I'm like, I had to check it out to see if it was really changed. But it wasn't too much. Well, at least to the conscious mind, it wasn't like, oh man, they fucked up Seinfeld. It was like, I mean, they presented it in a different way, but it wasn't that major to where I'm like, they ruined it. It was still good. It was still Seinfeld, but maybe someone else caught something different. So I think one thing we should be pointing out is, what we're consuming, but who's controlling how it's being sold or being showed. Or
well, that's kind of how I see the censorship. It's like a form of control. And that, again, that's why I struggle what I'm going to tell them. Because a lot of the stuff we get mad at the kids about, like cussing, is what adults do. And at some point we want them to grow into adults. You know, so how much is this censoring or, you know, punishing or whatever you want to call it, disciplining? At some point it's got to become detrimental to their adulthood. So it's a struggle. This is brought out like an entire conversation on control and censorship and adulthood, which we seem to keep coming back to.
I have this memory just popped up in my head of, cause, I mean, earlier when we were talking about people's skills and interacting, and like, I remember one time I went to the store, I think it was Target, and it was with my aunt, but I was still young enough to be, either I was sitting, it must have been either like just riding in the cart or hanging out in the cart, but I was chilling in the cart. And we were checking out, and then the checkout lane next to it was another kid in the cart, and it was a girl. And she winked. I want to say she winked at me or said hi, and I just stuck my tongue out. But my aunt was so mad at me. Like I think because, well, how I interpret it now was like that girl was being nice and friendly, and my response was to stick my tongue out. But like my Aunt Rachel, I respect her so much, and I love my auntie. But like I disappointed her, and it was always like I still remember that. Like, sorry, I did that, auntie. Like I didn't. It was what I thought I should do, or I don't know. It was just a natural response, or maybe that's what I was doing that whole time before that happened. But the people skills, like, that was
interesting. Her
response to how I reacted was, I learned from that. Like, I mean,
how do you remember how it seemed to you when you were a kid to get, to catch shit for that? Like, the way you presented it just now, you're like, well, now I think about it this way. Do you remember how you perceived it then as a kid? Like
I felt like the end of the world.
Yeah.
Because I would never want to, like,
disappoint,
let my auntie down.
Yeah.
And I did. And it was like, I'm like so young, and
How detrimental is that?
I mean, it wasn't detrimental because it was like she still loved me. It's not like she gave up on me because of that, but it was just like she might not even have like it was a big deal in the moment, but after that, like, it was nothing. It was okay, but it was just in that instant, like, I did something that she didn't approve of.
Yeah.
And that's not what I wanted to do. So, and like, I mean, even now, like, telling this story, I've told it before to kids younger than me, and just like if you were in that position, what would you have done? Or, maybe that was somebody that needed a friend, and I was just being, goofy and not wanting a friend, or I don't know. It was just kind of like there was a lot of teaching stuff that I had to like kind of figure out.
Yeah.
As I tell that story growing up, but like, I mean, I think it's again the importance of knowing or having someone that is involved or invested, engaged in your upbringing, to where sometimes you don't want to let those people down. So So, I mean, that's kind of a natural teaching style too, where they respect you, or you respect them, so you respect how they want you to behave. I don't know, but
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't. I don't know if TV can teach that shit.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. You heard it there, people. Yeah. This once again, this this was a pretty simple article. It was kind of short. Again, people, if you want to look into it, children and television, is SpongeBob bad for your child? And it really wasn't about SpongeBob. Yeah.
No,
you covered it.
It was a popular. He covered a big demographic.
Mm. Oh, you know what I wanted to bring up about censorship and what we know and all that. I just recently saw something on Instagram, and they were covering childhood movies. You know, they have Disney Plus now, and they're watching it now.
Yeah,
and they specifically remember stuff being a little different.
I've seen shit like that.
Yeah, and I was thinking about, again, we mentioned generation gaps between my parents and me and my kid, and how time, you know, the generation, the decade plays an effect. During the time of 9/11, there was a Spider-Man movie, like shortly after the towers were taken down, and there was a Spider-Man movie already in production, and they had a scene where he had his web between the two towers.
Oh.
And they cut it out completely. They changed it. So we never saw, as you put it, a director's cut. They changed it.
Yeah.
Out of, you know, whatever, I don't know
if
it was exactly, if it was exactly censorship, but they were thinking maybe it's not a good thing to show people right now. And I think I was watching I think the comparison they showed was Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
And I think it was like in Hawaii they showed the vehicle bumping against like mountains and hills of Hawaii. Or maybe they showed it in America, and then the one they showed in Hawaii, it was actually meant to be bumping against buildings. But again, it was during that time, so they changed it. Now, how do you feel about that? Because it's like when it happened, I understood it, but I still didn't quite like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like all right. There, you know, people are pretty sensitive about it right now. A lot of lives were lost, families are hurting, and maybe they want to go to see a little children's show, and next thing they know, they're watching a reckless little cartoon character crashing into buildings carelessly.
Yeah.
And I understood the reason why, but even then, I didn't quite like it. Now, I was in the early years of high school when that happened. And I still didn't quite like it. It was almost like, you know, we were being censored because of something that somebody else did to us, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So, what do you think about all that?
No, I mean, it kind of makes me think of, like, again, the parental advisory sticker where we're saying, like, this is explicit, so you're warning you before you get engaged in it. But, like, this is a whole nother thing where not the art, but the craft, or whatever, the content is being altered because it could have a long-term effect or some type of negative response. I mean, I think that too. Where again, back to the networks, where if this show is stirring up stuff that maybe people don't want to be attached to the money, well, maybe we shouldn't put that in because we'll lose our child demographic of the show. They watch the show. So I mean, those choices shouldn't be a part of the arts, but it kind of seems like it's like we're at this corporate shit where people want to get paid, so they'll take stuff out, they'll be compromised and make changes.
Ooh, there's a key word, compromise.
So I guess that I know it's happening, but I guess it's the fact that you're not warned or saying this is the alternate version that we changed I guess that's the whole point of it, so that you kind of just continue watching it and kind of not really like almost just like we're gonna make edits as time goes on, but it's almost not gonna have effect on maybe just a few that catch it, but like no one else really sees.
Yeah. Do you
think that's kind of that's the crazy thing.
Do you think those types of edits were done to Seinfeld that people were complaining about?
I don't know. I think it was like I remember that the first season there were some and maybe I just don't remember those episodes, but like they were showing some of the set was different, and sometimes they I can't remember what they call it, where they show the outside before they get into the scene.
Yeah,
and some of those were different.
That's breaking the fourth wall.
What do you mean? Oh,
you mean the outside of the building?
Yeah, like this is where they're at, and then they jump in.
Yeah,
and like some of it didn't look like the old Seinfeld on other shows. It looked almost like
I think the place they went was different too. Their lunch meetings.
And you know what? And then I started to think about it because, like with Netflix, you get the whole catalog.
Yeah.
And on TV, you kind of get spotty.
Yeah, whatever they're showing.
Yeah. So I mean, it might have just been. Yeah, I've seen those episodes in a long time, and now they're the first ones we're watching. And hey, I didn't catch this. And that's what I noticed too. Is there's a lot of things that I missed that. Hey, I don't remember this Jerry's apartment looking like this, So I mean, maybe there was just a lot to catch now that you had the full gist.
Or maybe when it aired, you were in the back using the restroom for a long time. You just missed the whole. You went in a commercial, came out. Another commercial was on. You missed that whole block. Yeah.
I don't know, man, but I mean, I was still happy that Seinfeld was available. But
I think we've gone off topic here. Do you have any? Let's wrap it up here and do you have any final words on this? Like back to the article. Do you have a different opinion of it now, or maybe how you feel about it has changed? Or do you
I don't so much have a different opinion. I think it's more. It just made me realize, not realize, but how in depth or how there's no really ability to calculate what you consume and how it influences you.
Yeah.
There's no really like, oh, you got to watch all these episodes, all these things, and you'll get this outcome. Like, there's really no way to see that. But
chaos. Yeah.
This is almost felt like this article was kind of trying to tackle that, like, or at least trying to make use of. And I agree. I mean, I respect the positivity and the learning and making it, something where we're talking as a family or whatever. But sometimes that's not always a possibility.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed you ripping it apart and taping it back together.
Right.
That was the best part of it. but that's awesome, though.
Yeah, well.
I mean,
I think what it is I shoot my mouth off for the argument of arguing, and then I start thinking about it, and I'm like, how do I really feel?
That's a good point.
Like, if I had just shut the hell up and really thought about it, maybe I would have came out fully like, oh yeah, thumbs up. I love this article. You guys got to read it. I think I already said it a couple times. I don't want to be told how to do it. I don't believe there's some perfect way to raise a child. And like I said, I found out I had lines that I didn't know I had. I grew up watching all this crap, all this crazy, bloody, gory stuff. I feel, again, like I grew up okay, as you said, Sky. It's just, I got lines. I do know that certain after-school specials are after-school specials because it's a talk that needs to be had, like the birds and the bees.
Oh, yeah.
And, again, I think with this generation coming up, we're going to be doing more stepping aside and then stepping back in when we need to, because they don't know everything. I'll put that out there. They don't know everything, but they're knowing it sooner and quicker than we ever did, and quicker and faster than our parents ever did, and so on and so forth. So, I guess in conclusion, I'm saying this article was okay, but I think comparatively, this was like a 5 or 10 minute read, this article.
Yeah, sure, short.
Yeah, I'm a slow reader, so maybe 10, but I'm saying we talked about this for 2 hours here, and we got way more in depth, and I'm sure her studies were way more in depth, and I'd be interested in learning more, but at the same time, coming out 2011 and still talking about children and talking it over, I do feel like it's quite outdated in that we're going to need to get out ahead of this if we're even really trying to have an effect. And I really think that this responsibility doesn't fall on your TV, but on you as a parent or an adult, or I think for you, Sky, would be as a role model. You're showing these kids another way to act, another way to get out frustration and physically handle their problems. Like, I like that. So, to be physical and healthy and live their lives. So, I am conflicted, and I think just being human is conflict. Watching television and cartoons as a kid is, it has its conflicts, but it goes hand in hand. And trying to put the brakes on that, trying to slow these kids' progress as they shoot into the future, and we just hold on tightly and hope we don't fall off, stay in the mix, as you said.
Yeah.
We're, I think we need to find a new way. And I think this article I think the approach in this article is a little old school. But every now and then, as I've proven, where I shot it all to shit, my answer still went to old school in certain situations. Sometimes you absolutely need to have the after school special.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think, in conclusion, I'm saying I'm full of shit. Like, I don't know. I'm running my mouth and then changing my mind in the end. I like talking about it, I like thinking about it, and I like learning about it, and I like philosophizing about... I like shooting the shit philosophically about the future. And that's definitely what this article pulled up. It got my ire up. I got a little heated. At the same time, I got to thinking about what I felt. And in the end, I realized that I was more alike with this than I thought.
Yeah.
Which, again, I say is kind of the nature of adulthood and parenthood and role modeling, and in raising children, there's a lot of conflict and compromise, like you said, and being hypocritical. And I think all of it, this article and what we try for is aimed at the positive and raising a child right.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately nobody can say what's right or wrong. We're just doing our best, really.
There's almost no right or wrong. It's all kind of just, what do they say? Situational. Because, every kid is different. Like, they all learn differently. And I think sometimes we generalize that one kid is going to learn the same way all the other kids learn. And that shit ain't true. And, maybe one kid watching SpongeBob is a positive thing versus another kid, watching it, and you see something that maybe he shouldn't be seeing, because now it's influenced him to do something. But, that's kind of like the whole experience is making mistakes and then being able to maneuver past them.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe TV kind of like we were saying, maybe TV speeds up the process of that, but
yeah.
I always think of this phrase
where information.
Like
what's the phrase?
Some of the most monstrous people are the ones that have never done anything. But it's like you gotta get in order to experience the river, you gotta actually get your feet in the river. You can't know what the river is by looking at it and seeing it.
Yes.
You gotta actually get dirty and get messy and get your feet in it. And I think that is a lot of the mistakes. Not so much make a mistake, but when a mistake comes, figure that shit out and progress. It's just kind of
well put.
It's just kind of what it's all about. And maybe TV is saying it's still maybe not always the best example, but there's some sort of example in there. But again, I love TV, so I'm vouching for TV still. But, but I learn from it too, so it's just like what you said, the balance thing.
Yeah.
We all have to find our balance, because we're on different metrics and different scales of how we see things. But a lot of that could be influenced by what we watched as kids.
Well, I think we're definitely saying that the approach of child care needs to progress with their advancement. It all needs to progress. And I think what the article is saying, without a parent, a television kind of becomes its own parent and teaches whatever. And they're talking about getting parents to be a parent with technology. You know, it says in the subtitle, it says television plus parents. Without the parent, the television is painted as a parent. You know, it's going to be teaching. And the amount of time they do it, when they do it, and I guess apparently how stimulating it is, all affects that. So, and I think I'm getting at the fact that we just need to be up to date with our approach. And again, we do the best we can. I think our parents did the best they can. Our kids will do the best they can, and we just hope for the damn best. Hope that it all works out. But I think giving television too much power is just a waste. And like you said about balancing, you know, we got to find the point when that talk is necessary. When it's figuring out when it's time to step in.
Yeah.
Maybe as role models, it's our duty to figure out when that is. That's our job, not the TVs. Or somebody else. I'm not going to say her name again. I'm just, you know. So I think we can end on that. I think we've said enough, and we got people thinking. Maybe, hopefully.
Yep.
And again, surprisingly, I've grown on this article that you brought to me that I read and formed my first opinion, my second opinion, third opinion, and in less than 2 hours, you guys got to see all three. So
he's evolving.
There's been growing going on here. I think we've all experienced our own ballet here.
Yeah. It's
a ballet of emotions.
Yeah. We're butterfly. We're in a cocoon, and now we're flying.
You're a peacock.
A new realm.
You spread your feathers and fly. Thank you for listening, guys. That's all I can say on it, and without repeating myself or sounding even more like a hypocrite. So, if you're good with that, Sky, you got anything else?
Yeah.
I think we can call it here.
I think so. I mean, watch some TV, don't watch some TV.
Yeah.
It's really up to you, but
yeah. Don't beat yourself up just yet over a simple article or a long talk. And
comment.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Comment,
what did you think? What cartoons did you watch?
Yeah, I'm actually curious. That'd be a good thing for the discussion page on the website. We'll post some questions here. Thank you for listening, everybody. I really enjoyed myself. And I hope until next time, you guys take care of yourselves and your kids, and think about what your parents did to raise you. Maybe the lies they told you, maybe the truths, and when they told you, and maybe try to figure out why they told you what they did, when they did.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I thought of Bambi.
Oh, yeah. Land Before Time. Parents died like first 5 minutes of the show.
Dad.
Bambi too. Bambi's mom. Her dad, mom.
They showed him. Boom.
And interesting. Good. Yeah, another good article, Sky. Just keep them coming, and if anybody else wants to add to them or comment or want to come on the show, let us know. We're open to it. All right. Good night, everybody.
Peace.